The rain had begun around 6 p.m., just after Maria Ellis got off her second shift at the diner. A cruel, icy downpour that soaked her thin hoodie within minutes. She held her 5-year-old son Eli close, shielding him as best as she could beneath the flimsy umbrella she had bought for $2 from a street vendor 3 weeks ago. It was already falling apart. The bus stop shelter near Broad Street was overcrowded and smelled like wet cardboard. The bus they had been waiting for, the 27 to Riverview, was late, again. Maria knew she had maybe 5 minutes before Eli would start to cry from the cold. She reached into her purse for a snack and found only a half-empty pack of crackers. Eli nibbled on one, not complaining. He rarely did. He had learned to read her face by now, and when she looked worried, he kept his mouth shut. Maria glanced at the sky, then back at the road. Nothing. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. 2% battery. She unlocked it quickly and checked the bus tracker. It blinked red. The 27 had broken down 3 stops away and wasn't coming. She sighed. Great, she muttered. They had no money for a taxi. She had barely enough for groceries tomorrow. The rent was already overdue and her boss had cut her hours again. The last time she asked her sister for help, she got a lecture about making better choices and never heard back. Her parents, gone, and Eli's father. Don't even think about him, she told herself. The streets were mostly empty. Rain blurred the car headlights, making everything shimmer with false warmth. Maria stared at the passing vehicles, each one dry, heated, comfortable, and she hated them. She hated the people inside them who didn't have to worry about food stamps or evictions or broken shoes. Then she did something she hadn't done since she was a teenager. She stuck out her thumb. A car slowed, then sped off. Another passed, sending a wave of gutter water over her sneakers. Please, she whispered. It took almost 10 minutes, and by then Eli was shivering in her arms, when a black SUV finally pulled over. The tinted window lowered, revealing a man in his early 30s. Clean-shaven, dark hair slicked back, sharp features like someone who belonged in a suit, not cruising rainy streets. You need help? He asked. Maria hesitated. Every instinct screamed to walk away. Stranger, alone, no witnesses. But she had a child, and they had nowhere else to go. The risk wasn't optional. It was survival. I need a ride to Riverview, just me and my son, she said cautiously. He looked at her. Soaked hoodie, baggy jeans, child clinging to her hip. His eyes softened. Get in. I'm heading that way. What's your name? Daniel, he said. Daniel Ashford. She had no idea who that was. Sounded normal enough. Okay, she said, and opened the door. Inside, the SUV was warm. Leather seats, clean interior, faint smell of cedar, and something expensive. Eli sighed as the heat hit his face, curling into the corner seat like a kitten. Maria buckled her seatbelt and clutched her bag on her lap. Her eyes darted to the dashboard. GPS was on. Route matched her neighborhood. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Daniel drove carefully, eyes on the road. The rain had thickened, making visibility harder. You live in Riverview? He asked after a few moments. Yeah, she replied, wiping rain off her cheeks. Been there for 3 years. You like it? She laughed bitterly. It's cheap, that's about it. He nodded but didn't press further. She appreciated that. And you? She asked. Where are you from? Across the river, Northgate Heights. Maria blinked. That was a rich area. Gated homes. Real lawns. Houses that didn't share walls. You own this car? She asked before she could stop herself. He chuckled. Yeah, I guess that's a weird question, huh? A little, but I've seen enough to ask. I respect that, Daniel said and returned to silence. Eli stirred in the back seat. Mama! It's okay, baby, we're going home. Daniel glanced in the rearview mirror. He looks tired. He's always tired. He goes to daycare while I work. Then I work again after. 2 jobs? 3 technically, Maria said. Cleaning on weekends, diner on weekdays, and I do copywriting gigs online at night when I can. That's a lot. Maria raised an eyebrow. Is it? Doesn't feel like enough. Daniel didn't argue. Instead, he asked, You have help? She shook her head. No family, no friends with money. His dad left before he was 2. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "That's hard, I'm sorry." Maria didn't respond. She didn't need sympathy. She needed cash, childcare, a safe apartment, a normal life. As they neared her block, Maria sat up straighter. "You can drop us off here," she said. "Next to the laundromat." Daniel slowed the SUV and pulled over. Before she could open the door, he reached into the glove box and pulled out a black card. Sleek, metallic lettering. Daniel R. Ashford, Ashford Industries. Personal line, XXX, XXX, XXXX. She blinked. "Ashford? Wait, I've seen this name. Aren't you on TV or something?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Sometimes. Depends on the scandal." "You're that Ashford? You own the tech company, the housing stuff, the charity thing?" "Among other things." Maria stared at him. "Why the hell did you stop for me?" "Because once, a stranger gave me a ride, and it changed everything." She looked down at the card. It felt heavier than paper, like it carried consequences. "I'm not a charity case," she said defensively. "I didn't say you were, but if you ever want a job or help finding something better, call." Maria tucked the card into her hoodie pocket without a word. "Thank you," she said finally, and stepped out. She carried Eli inside, climbing the stairs to their apartment. The hallway smelled like mildew and broken dreams. Her key stuck in the lock, like always. She entered the one-bedroom unit, flicked on the light. Nothing. Power was out again. She laid Eli on the couch, covering him with a towel. Her legs ached. Her stomach growled. She sat down at the rickety table and pulled out Daniel's card again. Ashford Industries. The man had no reason to help her. Yet he did. And now her life felt strangely unbalanced, like something had been set in motion that couldn't be undone. At 2:30 a.m., Maria was still awake. She sat near the window, laptop open, finishing a freelance article for $15. The only light came from the battery-powered lantern on the floor. Eli snored softly in the corner. She should have tossed the card. She didn't trust handouts. But she also hadn't forgotten Daniel's words. Sometimes the only way out of a hole is to stop digging. But what did that mean? Did he think she hadn't tried? She typed one last sentence, sent the file, and leaned back in her chair. Then, slowly, she reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out her phone. It was dead. She plugged it into her laptop just enough to get one bar of life. Scrolling through her contacts, she debated what to do. Call, text, email. Instead, she searched Ashford Industries. The page loaded slowly. Headlines jumped out. Ashford Industries pledges $10 million to housing projects. CEO Daniel Ashford speaks at Youth Mentorship Summit. Tech mogul or secret philanthropist? Maria exhaled. It was real. He was real. Still, she didn't reach out. Not yet. But for the first time in months, she didn't feel completely alone. She closed the laptop, curled up next to Eli on the couch, and whispered, "Maybe something good's about to happen." And she didn't know it yet, but it was. Something very, very big. The next morning, the rain was gone, but the air still felt heavy. Maria Ellis woke to the sound of construction from the building next door and the steady thump of her neighbor's music bleeding through the walls. Eli was still asleep, wrapped in a blanket far too thin for spring. She tiptoed to the kitchenette, powered up her old coffee maker, and stared at Daniel Ashford's business card lying face up on the counter. It had survived the night, and so had her doubts. She turned it over, debating whether to make a move. But what if he'd just been polite? Maybe the ride was his good deed for the week, or worse, what if he was like the others? People who offered help just to feel superior. Still, there was something about him. Not just his wealth or polished demeanor, but something sincere in his voice. And Maria was tired of saying no to chances she never even got to take. By the time Eli was dressed and eating cereal, she had her phone charged and heart pounding. She called the number. It rang once, then twice, then... "Daniel Ashford," came a familiar voice. Hi, this is Maria. From last night, I wasn't sure if you meant it, about helping." There was a pause. Then, "I'm glad you called." Maria didn't realize she'd been holding her breath until she let it out. "I don't even know what I'm asking for." "You're asking for a chance," he said. Come to my office this afternoon. Bring Eli. We'll talk. Ashford Industries towered above the city like a silver blade. It was the kind of building Maria would normally pass by without even looking up, intimidating, luxurious, unreachable. But that day, she walked through its doors wearing her cleanest blouse and holding Eli's hand tightly. A receptionist greeted her with a warm smile as if she had been expected. "Mr. Ashford is waiting for you upstairs. Elevator to the 30th floor." The ride up was surreal. Eli marveled at the glass walls, pressing his nose against the view. Maria tried to compose herself. What was she doing here? She had no resume, no savings, no credentials besides her determination and her exhaustion. The doors opened to a modern office suite with polished wood floors, glass partitions, and sleek furniture. Daniel stood by the window wearing a navy suit, no tie, sleeves rolled casually at the elbows. "Maria, good to see you." She smiled nervously. "I still can't believe this is real." He motioned for her to sit. Eli wandered to a corner with some toys a kind assistant had brought in. "I meant what I said. You're smart, you work hard, and you've been doing everything on your own. That tells me more than any degree or title ever could." Maria tilted her head. "Why are you really doing this?" Daniel hesitated. Then he said, "Because 10 years ago I was sleeping in my car. My father cut me off after I dropped out of law school. I had nothing but a laptop, a head full of ideas, and one stranger who helped me without asking for anything in return. That changed everything." Maria sat quietly. She hadn't expected that. "I have a few programs under my company. Mentorship, business incubation, scholarships, housing help. It's mostly kept quiet. We don't advertise it." "And you want to give that to me?" "I want to offer you a way forward. We'll start small. I read some of your freelance writing. Yes, I looked you up." Maria blushed. "You have a gift. I'll connect you with our content and PR department. Freelance first, paid, regular work, and I'll sponsor you for night classes if you're interested." Maria stared at him, stunned. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." For the first time in years, she felt something thaw inside her. Hope. The weeks flew by. Maria started working part-time from home while Eli was in daycare, paid for through a voucher Daniel arranged. Her writing assignments were simple at first, blog posts, social captions, but well-paid and consistent. For the first time, she could buy groceries without counting every penny. At night, she took online courses in marketing and business communication. She hadn't felt so alive in years. Daniel checked in regularly, never invasive, always supportive. They'd meet for coffee in the lobby or have brief phone calls. He never acted superior. If anything, he treated her like an equal. It made her heart ache in unexpected ways. One afternoon, she brought Eli to the office again. While Daniel and Eli were playing a puzzle game on the floor, Maria watched them and asked, "Do you have kids?" Daniel smiled. "No, not yet." "Wife?" He shook his head. "Was engaged once. Didn't work out." Maria looked at him thoughtfully. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "A rich man who thought he could buy his way into people's lives." Daniel laughed. "Well, I do like to buy good coffee." They both smiled, and something flickered in the silence. 3 months later, Maria signed her first real contract, content manager for a new community program Daniel's company was launching. It came with benefits, a steady paycheck, and her own small office. She moved into a better apartment, one with 2 bedrooms, a working stove, and no leaking ceiling. Eli had friends, Maria had choices. One Friday evening, after a long meeting, Daniel offered her a ride home. She hesitated, echoes of that first night ringing in her mind. "Sure," she said softly. The drive was quiet at first, just like before. Then she asked, "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you didn't stop that night?" Daniel glanced at her. "All the time." "And?" "I think I would have missed meeting someone who reminded me what second chances are all about." Maria looked out the window, biting her lip. "It's weird. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for it all to disappear." Daniel pulled up to her building, parked, and turned to face her. "It's not going to disappear, Maria. You earned it, every piece of it." She looked at him, eyes soft. And you? He smiled. I'm just glad I was there to open the door. Their eyes met. The moment held. Maria leaned forward, kissed him gently on the cheek, then stepped out. Good night, Daniel. 6 months later, Maria was the keynote speaker at Ashford's Women in Leadership Conference. She stood on a stage in front of hundreds, wearing a navy blazer and heels she could finally afford. Her speech was about resilience, about grit, about motherhood and survival and grace. She spoke of how one ride turned into a job, which turned into a new life. She never named Daniel directly. She didn't have to. Everyone knew. After the applause, Daniel met her backstage, flowers in hand. You were amazing, he said. I was terrified. You didn't look it. She smiled, brushing hair behind her ear. I still wake up some mornings and wonder if this is a dream. He stepped closer. Well, if it is, I hope I'm in it. Maria laughed. That's incredibly cheesy. Guilty. They stood in silence, and then he asked, Maria, can I take you out to dinner? Not as your boss, just a man who thinks you're extraordinary. She smiled, heart pounding. I think I'd like that. And as they walked out into the night, no rain this time, just stars, Maria knew she had found more than a new life. She had found someone who saw her not as a burden or a project, but as a partner, a woman reborn, a mother, a fighter, a story worth telling.